It's always so funny how much of a monster the draft is or has become in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Because free agency starts in like a week and a half. And the fact that there are people arriving at the combine is the story of the day in the NFL. It's like people are in Indianapolis, and that's the story. The NFL combine right around the corner. And man, I know that there's like combine previews and all that, but I don't think that most of what the public sees at the combine is what matters at the combine.
Right.
It's an entertainment vehicle to drive television ratings for an event that otherwise is interviews and medical evaluations.
Yeah, and I think the combine has kind of gone through a roller coaster of importance, and people will say like, "Oh, look at DK Metcalf, look at Nicky Manwari, like those guys blew up the combine, and then they became, they went higher than I guess people expected or whatever." Like, sure, I guess that can be that to me is a relatively small sample. I think those guys went higher in the draft because ultimately the Seahawks, who drafted both of them, were like, no, these guys are just good football players. Like we kind of thought that. And then what they did at the combine confirmed sort of what we evaluated on tape. So to me, the combine has always just been sort of like an opportunity to cross-reference like what you already know. Right. So, and it's an opportunity to interview the players. And like you said, the medical evaluations might be like the most important thing because these guys can have, team doctors look at them, and then the teams can, determine where they're at in terms of how they feel about each player in whatever medical situation they're dealing with. So yeah, like there's a lot of stuff is going to happen on social media over this week. It's like, this player's met with this team, and do we read into it, blah, blah, blah. It's like, I haven't found it particularly useful to track which players the Niners meet at the combine. Like the Niners will meet with a ton of players, just about every player there, and there's very little correlation between like it's the 30 visits, really. It's the 30 visits that are a lot more indicative of who the 49ers are really looking at. More often than not, like a guy they draft in the first 2 days does visit the facility in a top 30, unless it's like a Mike McGlinchey situation where the Niners just feel so comfortable with him without doing one of those visits that they'll still draft him. And that happens time and again. But to me, the combine is just kind of, it's a marketing opportunity for the league. It's a television show, but ultimately I'll always come down on like, it's just a cross-reference tool. Like if there's a dramatic difference between the way somebody runs and what their film says, or the agility drills and what the film says, then teams will look into a little bit more. But I don't envision, I don't even know if Kyle Shanahan's going to go to the combine.
He hasn't gone to the last like 4.
Yeah. So like, I don't envision there's a scenario where like, oh, this guy ran well, we're going to draft him now. I think it's, there's a lot more to it than that. And the combine is just a piece of the puzzle, as the smart people like to say.
I also, because it's tough because teams used to like need the combine to see guys work out.
Mm-hmm.
But with access to tape, and like Dre Greenlaw is the one that always comes to mind when I say this, but like they have GPS tracking data and all that now, where they knew that Dre Greenlaw was the fastest on-field linebacker in the draft. They didn't need a 40 time to look at that. And the other thing that frustrates me about the combine is there are people who, and again, mostly because this is just the information that the public has, there will be a wide receiver that runs a 4.36 and people are like, wow, that's way faster than expected. That's going to make him some money. It's like, did it? Because he ran what if he had run a 4.41? 0.05 seconds. Like that's not going to make, that's 5/100ths of a second. That's not making a difference on the field. That's the difference between like a good and okay start at your 40.
Mm-hmm.
It's just easy. It's an easy thing to quantify. And I wonder how much teams, because again, like that's the public facing info we have. And if that's what people have to go on, then great. But teams have access to way more info. But I wonder how many scouts or GMs still get caught up in that. Like, did the Chiefs like Xavier Worthy, and then he broke the combine record for 40 time, and they're like, damn, now we love him. I wonder if that still happens. You have to think it does, because the human nature of it. I sit here and I rail against the combine all the time as like how silly and stupid it is. But then when it's on TV and I see some guy who's 6'6", 255 rip off a 4.41, it's like, all right, that's cool. That guy's probably good.
Sure. Yeah, it's an entertainment product. I just have a hard time with it. Having been there and having covered a few, it's just like it's not super useful. It's not as useful as it's made out to be. And I think it's just like if there's a massive discrepancy, like say there's a prospect who just based on his film and production, they're like, this guy is probably a 6th round pick. And then he comes out and runs a 4.3 flat. Then a team will say, okay, like what went into that? What's the difference between his testing speed and his play speed, right? Like play speed is the most important thing. And what happens at the combine is not always indicative of the player's actual play speed. Like these aren't track and field athletes, these are football players, and they're not in pads, they're not in helmets, all those things. So I don't know. It's a opportunity to gather data and where someone's at, but I don't, again, to me, like for the 49ers, for a team that their franchise quarterback was a 7th round pick and their all pro tight end was a 5th round pick. And, their best defensive player was a 3rd round pick. Like with the exception of Nick Bosa being the 2nd overall pick in 2019, like this isn't a team that relies heavily on combine numbers. Like
sure.
The only time I can really remember the combine factoring significantly, at least into the way Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch talked about a prospect, was Jordan Watkins. When they were like, yeah, we saw him. They talked about him running the shuttle, the play or the drill where you run a straight line and then you catch passes from either side, and it's about like maintaining your line and maintaining your balance and focus and things like that. They're like, Watkins was super smooth in that drill, and then we went back and evaluated him, and then they ended up drafting him in whatever it was, the 4th round. That's the only time out of like the 40 or 50 players that they've drafted where it really feels like they talked about the combine having a significant impact on their evaluation.
Yeah, because there just have to be guys that fall through the cracks a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You're watching so many players. Like there's always that story that the reason they quote unquote discovered George Kittle is because they were watching CJ Beathard.
Right.
And went, oh, hey, who's this number 46 kid? And dove in that way. I wonder if that's something that's useful for teams or maybe the 49ers specifically. Like today, again, like Jordan Watkins does this or random receiver from Missouri State runs the hell out of the 40. And they go, oh, that's interesting. And you go watch him because of that. I wonder if that happens.
It's possible for sure.
I don't know.
But a lot of these dudes will post numbers and be terrible football players. So
yeah, great point. So I think the Niners, whoever is in their contingent, they're probably locked in. What position do you think they're like, this is the group we're locked in on? Like they're going to watch everything. They're going to meet with everybody. Like that's not, but when they're going, what?
Well,
focus.
This kind of leads into the exercise we're going to do today, which is we were going to draft strategies.
Just a tremendous idea by you.
And in terms of, we didn't even specify whether this was like in terms of likelihood or in terms of what we think the Niners should do. Maybe with each pick we can explain. But I think, it's going to be receiver for me. And it seems like 27 is going to be a spot where you could potentially get another good receiver. But again, the caveat here is also, do you want a rookie? Do you want a potential project? Do you want someone who might not necessarily be someone you can expect to be one of your best 2 receivers this year? Or do you want to trade that pick for a receiver that is established, that's a veteran, that you will think will be your number 1 receiver this year, right? And that's,
you have your number 1. You just need to figure out what you're doing with the rest.
Who's their number one, Kyle?
Jordan Watkins, obviously.
Sure. No, but do you want to start the exercise?
Yeah. Do you want to pay bills and then start the exercise? This is good producing.
Sure. Let's do that.
Okay, great. Because this exercise is going to be brought to you by Lamb Chops. sglambchops.com. You'll see the splash page. They have partnered once again with the Minnesota Timberwolves basketball team. You cannot get that anywhere but in the store. But just to give you an idea of what kind of stuff Lamb Chops puts out in terms of quality, in terms of comfort, in terms of style, the Minnesota Timberwolves for the last 3 years have said, yeah, we want you to make merch for us. And I don't know about you, Chris, but this year's is my favorite of the three that they've done. But
I mean, it's special edition, like super high quality stuff. They've taken the materials within the last few drops. They've taken the materials and the details to a completely different level.
Yeah,
it's been crazy.
It's been outstanding. So you can't, unless you go to a Minnesota Timberwolves game, you're not going to be able to get that online. So we encourage you to go check out the other stuff, including that brand new starter jacket that's out. It is a winter coat with all the best details. And like you said, Chris, the quality is insane. It's super warm. It's functional. It's stylish, just like all their clothes are. Their hoodies, their pants, their t-shirts. We love Lamb Chops so very much. And of course, you search Candlestick at sglambchops.com. Search Candlestick and you will find the Candlestick Chronicles t-shirt, the Candlestick Chronicles hoodie, the only place that they are selling Candy Cron merch, because Lamb Chops is the exclusive provider of said merch. You can get it at sglambchops.com. Use promo code Candlestick20 when you check out for 20% off your order today. sglambchops.com. Lamb Chops, join the herd.
Shoot your shot on Prize Picks, a Candlestick Chronicles sponsor, and get $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5. That's right. Prize Picks is now giving you $50 in lineups when you sign up and play your first $5. Prize Picks makes every dunk, every dime, and every board that much more exciting. So don't miss this chance to get started on America's #1 app for sports picks. Kyle, do you have any thoughts on Patrick Baldwin and what plays you would make in your Prize Picks lineup with him, one of the newest members of the Sacramento Kings?
You know, the second I find out who Patrick Baldwin is, I will let you know what I think. It's Golden State Warriors legend.
Patrick Baldwin. Former Warriors first round pick.
I'm going less on Patrick Baldwin.
Okay.
Pick a stat. I'm going less.
Yeah, probably the same. Daquan Plowden might feel similarly. Oh, you're going more.
I'm going more on Daquan Plowden. That's my guy.
Wow. Disagreement on the podcast. Devin Carter. I'm going more shot attempts and fewer makes.
Brother, I'm going less on minutes. He's cooked.
Well, no matter where you stand on those picks, make sure you download the Prize Picks app today and use code Candlestick to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code Candlestick to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right.
No matter where you stand on Patrick Baldwin Jr., Daquan Plowden, and Devin Carter, we know that these are the things people think about.
Some people do.
Oh, man. If you've ever had Daquan Plowden in a Prize Picks lineup, please reach out first to a helpline and then to us to let us know that you've done that.
Just talk to your loved ones.
Absolute maniac.
Talk to some loved ones. Get some fresh air.
Find some grass. Touch it.
For sure. All right.
Drafting draft strategies.
We're drafting draft strategies. I want you to go first. We did not specify on whether this is going to be what we think will happen or what the 49ers should do, in our opinion. I kind of came at it from the standpoint of what I think the 49ers should do, which I think kind of coincides with what they will do. So I want to give you this first pick.
You and John Lynch sharing a football mind here.
Yeah, just we're kind of mind melded here at this point. So I want to give you the first pick since it was my idea. I don't want to give myself the first pick. Yeah, no,
I mean you can do whatever you want. It's your bit, but I'm glad I got the #1 pick here because it's an easy one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's draft a good player. Thoughts? No, let me expand. Let me expand. I think that the 49ers need to, we were talking about this before the podcast, with the exception of Reuben Foster in 2017, which was a special situation because he was like a projected top 10-ish pick, and he fell to 31, and the 49ers traded up into the back end of the first round to draft him. With the exception of that, they've drafted defensive linemen, wide receivers, an offensive lineman, and a quarterback in the first round. They're not taking a quarterback, obviously, but I think the other three positions are very much on the table. I think that whether it's a cornerback, a safety, a receiver, an offensive lineman, a tight end, whatever player is there that they think is the best player, they need to get him in their building. Positional value be damned. Team need be damned. If there's a player that they think is going to be a high quality NFL player, they need to draft that player. Because outside of quarterback, I guess you could say Fred Warner spot at middle linebacker. If you want to throw Deommodore Lenoir in there, that's fine. They don't have a ton of long-term answers and like long-term stars. Most of their star players are aging out, so they need to find a star caliber player, and I think they need to can the position thing. It just, I don't know if it's intentional. I feel like it is, or if that's just how the board has fallen for them every year. But whatever it is, at 27, forget the position part. Just get the good player.
Yeah, so I think I agree with you, and I think the biggest difference, like, I think you and I agree that like the last two draft classes have been mostly solid, right?
Fine.
Like they've been fine to solid, and you feel pretty good about some of the guys they've drafted. But I think if there's an indictment on it, particularly in comparison to what worked earlier in Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch's tenure, it's been they haven't drafted a star, right? They haven't drafted a Fred Warner, a George Kittle, a Nick Bosa in the last two drafts, right? We've kind of thrown out the other ones with the exception of Brock Purdy when he was taken in, what was it, 22? But since then, it's like, yeah, they have starters and they have guys who are on the roster and filling out the depth chart, but they haven't drafted a star. So I think to boil down your point, it's just like, just draft a star. If there's a star player, even if it's a safety, right? Like Caleb Downs or what, just draft that guy. And who cares about Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown? Like if you think this guy's going to be an all pro within the next couple of years, like just do that.
Yeah, man. And just to be clear, I've not always landed in that space. I know there's some people that always say I have typically landed at like, they need an offensive lineman. They should take the best defensive lineman available. They need an offensive tackle. They should take the best offensive. I'm not there. The best player, regardless of position, needs to be who they take at one. What is your first pick, number 2 overall?
Trade the pick for an elite receiver. So this is the Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson part of the conversation. To me, and I don't want to spoil, I don't want to reveal too much of my draft board here, Kyle.
Sure.
But the risk in drafting a receiver, while I give Kyle Shanahan credit for generally finding good ones early in the draft, is that you don't know if this guy's going to pan out, right? Like Ricky Pearsall, really strong prospects on paper and what he showed at Florida and ASU, right? Just like the physicality, crazy good hands, could make catches in traffic, could separate, athletically tested really well, like somebody who checked a lot of boxes in terms of what Kyle Shanahan wants in a receiver. He gets shot. He deals with a bunch of injuries, and there are concerns about just his ability to stay on the field in the NFL. So as good as you could feel about a prospect at 27, there's no guarantee that this guy is going to be your first or second or even third receiver going into his rookie season. And with where the 49ers are at in terms of keeping their championship window, quote unquote, open, to me, I would rather trade this first, maybe next year's first, if it means getting a Justin Jefferson or, this year's first and a package of other picks, not including next year's first for Garrett Wilson.
Sure.
Right. Like that to me is because this is just a plug and play player. You lose Brandon Ayuk. Okay. You fill that salary slot with one of these other guys. These guys are still in their prime. You don't have to worry about developing them. And now you go into next season with the top flight receiver and you can go compete with the Seahawks for the NFC West, as opposed to, all right, we drafted a guy. We're not really sure. He was the third or fourth receiver taken.
Mm-hmm.
We don't, we hope he's going to be good and he might develop into a number one, but even if he does, that's like a year or 2 or 3 away.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no, you get, if a trade for Justin Jefferson or Garrett Wilson, or who knows, do the Bengals trade Jamar Chase, right? Is that a thing that happens? I feel like we see a couple big name receivers get traded every offseason at this point, just because teams know that they can, for long term, they can rebuild their receiving core much more cheaply with draft picks. But I think the 49ers have a little bit of urgency to do it now instead of wait for that receiver to develop. So my first pick in this draft of draft strategies is to trade 27 for an established veteran receiver, a potential star receiver, or a current star receiver, I should say.
Yeah, I am with that because they need certainty. As much as they need playmaking, they need to know what they're going into the year with. And I think if you're going in with Jordan Watkins, Jacob Cowing, you re-sign Deebo Samuel, and you use a second round pick on a wide receiver, that's not enough, man. That's not even close to enough. And unless that second round wide receiver is Justin Jefferson incarnate, but again, you don't know that in the draft. You're taking a gamble, and I think going into the year, if they're not trading for an established star receiver, I think that for me, that's going to limit their ceiling pretty severely until something changes my mind. If Jordan Watkins comes out and is this awesome player in year 2, or Jacob Cowing in year 3, or their draft pick just tears it up in camp right away, okay, then we can change the conversation a little bit. But I'm with you. That's something that I think they have to do, and B, I think they're gonna really try to do.
And that's one thing we didn't talk about when, in our preamble about the combine. Like, a lot of these initial trade discussions do happen at the combine. Like,
Sure.
teams and executives have these meetings that the combine kind of facilitates. So, yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen. I don't know if Justin Jefferson's available. I think the Vikings are kind of a weird team because they fired their general manager and don't really have a general manager right now.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be. So to me, like, if you're the Vikings and you say, we don't love JJ McCarthy, we don't really have what's the urgency in paying Justin Jefferson to be one of the best receivers in the league? Like, if you have a shitty quarterback situation, you're not maximizing Justin Jefferson. So is that worth 30 some odd $1 million this year versus just, hey, we can get 2 firsts and potentially use those to go trade for a quarterback or trade up for a quarterback that we really like in next year's draft? Like, I don't know. That to me,
it also
it's just a weird team. And same with Garrett Wilson and the Jets, given that they just traded Sauce Gardner and Quinnen Williams last season.
I think Garrett Wilson is more likely to be traded because I think Minnesota could look at the fact they went 9-8 with that quarterback situation last year and go, God, if we can get Kirk Cousins back in here on the cheap, we're contending in the NFC North.
Or Mac Jones. A first in Mac Jones for Justin Jefferson.
That defeats the purpose of getting Mac Jones.
Yeah, I guess.
And I'm out on Jordan Addison. I know we've talked about that, but the off-field stuff is a significant problem. Okay, number 2, my second pick. Trade up to draft a good player. Everything I said in the first thing, but you trade up when you identify that player and you go get them. They have, I think, 9 picks in this year's draft. This to me is not a class. The last couple classes have been like, get as many players as you can, get as many bites at the apple as possible, and see if you can find some good players. This year, not saying you can trade your entire draft to move up, but if you walk out of the draft with 6 players because you've traded up, I don't hate that at all. So if, again, going back to the need to find a star level player on a rookie deal, as important as trading for a wide receiver would be, if that's not there and you're going to use that first round pick, and let's say a wide receiver you love falls to 15 and you want to trade up from 27, go do that. Anything you can do to facilitate that star level player.
Spitting off that, if there were, and I know you're talking about players, not really positions, but like if you could narrow the position scope to like 3 positions that like, okay, it would make sense. Like you're not going to trade up for a center, right?
Draft,
you know what I mean?
You want to draft what positions?
Draft what 3 positions within the draft of draft strategies.
And then power rank those positions.
What positions you going?
Ooh. Okay, this is what I think they should do.
Okay.
I think I would go wide receiver, defensive end, offensive tackle.
Okay.
The way I think they would order that would be defensive end, offensive tackle, wide receiver.
Okay. Just remember who the head coach is. Kyle Shanahan loves receivers.
Yeah, and I think Kyle Shanahan would look at it and go, you know what? There's a guy on day 2 that I can maybe turn into a star. Look what we did with Debo.
Yeah, possible. I like that.
Thanks.
I like trade up.
Number 2.
All right. Board is wide open. I still got some.
You got a lot happening.
Big board. My big board is oh man, this is gonna be great stuff. I'm gonna go with trade back.
Oh, you son of a... my war room is reeling. my 4 thing big board is cleared.
Yeah, I'm gonna go trade back. Because if you just look at history, and I haven't admittedly done like the deep dive on prospects, but the 49ers have drafted more stars outside of round 1 than they have in round 1.
Yep.
And you can basically, if you want to call Brandon Ayuk a star, I mean, I guess he was an all-pro. Yeah, he was an all-pro. So you could, so between Brandon Ayuk and Nick Bosa, that's really the most success the 49ers have had in the first round, followed probably by Mike McGlinchey, good player who got a massive deal with the Broncos, probably underrated during his time with the 49ers, evident by what the Broncos paid him. But other than that, been a pretty mixed bag at best in the first round, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So if you're the 49ers and you look at this draft and say, man, we think we could get starters into the 4th round, like comfortably, like without anybody surprising us. We look at some of these guys going all the way into the 4th round who could potentially earn starting jobs for us. And you have conviction that, hey, maybe there's a Fred Warner in this draft who could be a 3rd round pick and turn into an all-pro. If you can trade back and get multiple bites of the apple in round 2, round 3, round 4, I wouldn't hate that at all. The issue becomes if you make those picks and then you're drafting your Jake Moody's and your Cam Latus and your Ty Davis Prices and your Trey Sermons, then that's a bigger issue than the decision to trade back. I think there's plenty of logic in trading back, but of course you have to nail the picks.
Yeah, sure. It felt like a lot of those were, I don't want to say heat check picks as much as they were like, we envision this very specific role down the depth chart for Cam Latu. Like Cam Latu could be a really good blocking tight end with a little bit of pass catching upside. So that's what he's gonna. And instead of just drafting a good player, they tried to like really thread a needle. At least that's how it comes across to me.
To
And
me,
go ahead.
No, to me, I think it's believing a little bit too much in what you have and being closed off to possibilities. I think that's probably like the biggest criticism I would have of John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan as drafters.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to like 2018. You really need a pass rusher. You come out of that draft without any pass rushers, and then you're telling people, well, it's really tough to beat out Cassius Marsh.
Right, exactly.
Right. Or like, no, we didn't really look at Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson because, we knew we were going to get Kirk Cousins, and like we would have been just fine with that. It's like, well, there's no harm in doing the deep dive and at least coming up with an evaluation that gives you an answer as to whether or not you want to draft this guy. And maybe they did. And in that case, it was a pretty massive misevaluation in saying we like a future with Kirk Cousins more than the potential of what Patrick Mahomes could be.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, when it was Cam Latu and Jake Moody and whatever, it was like, we're pretty good. We don't really need rookies. We don't think rookies are really going to help us this much. So let's take a shot on some high upside, super low floor Cam Latu type and see if this works. And that to me, it was short-sighted, and I don't know if it was lazy, but it kind of feels lazy to just be like, we're good. We don't need any rookies. We're fine.
Yeah. It's almost like because they weren't picking in the first round, and in that year in particular that you're talking about, 2022, 22, 21, 22, 23.
Cam Latu was 23.
Okay, so 23, yeah. Because 21 was Trey Lance. The next year, Drake Jackson was the second-round pick. And then in 22, they traded their second-round pick from 23 and didn't pick until the third. That's right. Okay. So in 23, I forget where I was going with that. Oh, it was like because they didn't pick in the first two rounds, it was like, this one doesn't matter. Like, you gotta go find good players, man.
Right. So in just for clarity, Niners have one pick in round 1, one pick in round 2, one pick in round 3, 3 picks in round 4, and one pick in round 5. So this is according to Spotrac.
Okay.
So they only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 picks. You trade back, you could potentially get to what, 10, 9 or 10?
Sure.
And potentially have 2 second-round picks and maybe 2 third-round picks and then 3 fourths, right? Like, so obviously the caveat here is you need to hit on your mid-round picks, and it's less likely you hit on those picks just in general than you do the earlier picks. But so that's why I went trade back. Like, if you can get more bites at the apple and you have serious conviction that there are some stars that you could be had in the second and third round, because I'm with you, they need star power for sure, but you can find stars outside the first round. So trade back is my second pick, my second draft pick.
Love that.
In the draft strategies draft.
My third and final pick in the draft strategies draft. A similar conversation to the one we had earlier, but I think you trade it for Maxx Crosby. Or insert defensive end, but it seems like he's the defensive end who is available. I am of the belief that the 49ers pass rush was, well, I mean, it was obviously a massive problem, but it needs to be something that they address with significant assets this offseason. I don't think you can be in a situation. Michael Williams, I don't think is ever going to affect wreck games as a pass rusher. Really good player, especially as a run defender. Like the Niners' run defense went to hell when he wasn't on the field. When Nick Bosa's off the field, I don't know how they're going to get after the quarterback. And maybe it's Bryce Huff. Maybe Nick Bosa and Michael Williams coming back revitalizes Bryce Huff, and Bryce Huff's amazing next year. But I don't think you can go into another season with Bryce Huff and Sam Okuwanu as your main depth pieces. I think they need star power on that side. And if you're not able to go get a receiver with that first round pick, and Maxx Crosby's available for a first rounder, a day 2 pick, and Nick Martin, then cool. I would 100% do that. And you bookend Nick Bosa and Maxx Crosby, and you just have this nightmare pass rush that makes all 3 levels of your defense better and insulates you a little bit from Nick Bosa's lack of availability if that does arise. So that is the case for me for Maxx Crosby, who is one of the best pass rushers in the sport.
Don't hate it. Don't hate it at all. I've been on the record on this podcast and saying that I'm not the biggest fan of paying 60 some odd million to both Nick Bosa and Maxx Crosby, but it certainly wouldn't be the worst move in the world.
See, and I knew that, and you showed your hand, and that's why I waited to make this my final pick, because I knew you weren't on it.
Good value.
It's really great value.
Like, to me, like, if you can get Trey Hendrickson in free agency and just sign him to whatever it would take to sign him and not have to give up a early draft pick, I think I might rather do that.
Okay.
But again, they're like, if you told me the Niners traded 2 firsts for Maxx Crosby, I'd be like, okay, that's fine. And the Nick Bosa thing, because Nick Bosa is coming off his 3rd ACL tear in his football career, and he's entering his, late 30s, or sorry, late 20s, like, that makes it a little bit more justifiable than, adding Maxx Crosby at his salary the first year you're paying Nick Bosa, right? So I get it. Wouldn't be my first choice of moves,
first, second, or third choice, apparently.
No,
and I want to just real quick. I want to go back to the wide receiver aspect of this in terms of trading. This is, again, with the idea that Garrett Wilson gets traded elsewhere. Vikings aren't interested in dealing Justin Jefferson, and there's just no receiver available that you want to deal a first round pick for. Then in this situation, maybe you go, okay, might not be able to find the offense we want, so we're just going to make this awesome defense and see if we can piece together enough offensively.
Yeah,
would kind of be the thought process there.
So if you were to cut Nick Bosa, you would have a $75.8 million dead cap hit for this season. But if it was a post June 1, I'm sure you could spread it out over the next 2 years.
Sure.
And you'd have they do have an out for Nick Bosa after this upcoming season, to where
I don't think they're not getting rid of Nick Bosa this offseason.
No, I don't think so either. But if you get Maxx Crosby, I think that starts the clock on.
Okay.
I think that would make this season pretty clearly Nick Bosa's last season with the Niners.
Sure.
So anyway, don't hate it. Don't hate it.
Thank you.
My last pick, the 6th pick in the draft of draft strategies, I'm just going to say draft the best defensive lineman you can, whether that's an edge or it's a defensive tackle. I think when it comes to defensive tackles, I know it's probably not a popular take, but I don't really think Alfred Collins or CJ West are destined to be all pros. I think they could be part of a good defensive tackle rotation. Mm-hmm. And I think if you can find a player in the back end of the first round who you think is already better or going to have significantly more upside than either of those guys, I wouldn't hesitate to do it if that's the way your board falls. Mm-hmm. And I really think if there's an edge defender, particularly someone with speed, right? Sort of in the Bryce Huff, D Ford ilk, or archetype of player who can provide speed off the edge, and then you're moving Mykel Williams to the inside to be an interior pass rusher, a la, the Eric Armstead and D Ford dynamic. When Armstead was playing well, he would kick inside, third down, to rush the passer from there. I would definitely consider taking that player. And I think that could be pretty additive, if it's a first round talent, if it's a James Pierce from the Falcons, 26 overall pick. And I know there are questions about, off the field and all that stuff. But 26 overall pick last year had 10.5 sacks for the Falcons. If you can get something like that in the back end of the first round this year, and again, this is precluding trading for Justin Jefferson or Maxx Crosby even, I think that's a pretty significant win. And I think that would be a pretty strong development for them. I think going back to the well and just sticking with their ethos of finding dominant players on the defensive line is one of the best avenues to getting back to where they were defensively. Sure. And doing that with the draft pick, I think, makes a ton of sense. If a reasonable trade for a receiver or even Maxx Crosby isn't available to you.
Yeah, I would like to see them one time. I don't know if they can do that this year, but just along the lines of drafting defensive tackles, because Daniel Jeremiah has the 49ers taking, I think he's from Ohio State, a defensive tackle. And,
he's a good one.
And but the description, again, I've not grinded the film yet, but the description is like he's a big, thick defensive tackle who's great against the run. It's like, can they get one of these like penetrating pass rushing defensive tackles one time instead of the big lumbering motherfucker who just stands there against the run?
Caden McDonald is his name.
No, that's not the guy.
They have multiple.
There's Caden. Who's the other guy? Oh God.
There are multiple defensive tackles from Ohio State. Anyway, you can keep making your point. I can look.
Okay, great. I'm gonna find this. We have the technology to do so, and I will find this before I'm done making my point, because that person's name is Lee Hunter. He's from Texas Tech, not Ohio State. That's my fault. Okay. So anyways, the jersey he's wearing and his thing looked like Ohio State because it's only like shoulders up. Okay, doesn't matter. So, Hunter can hold the point against the run. This is what Daniel Jeremiah wrote. And he showed flashes of his upside as a pass rusher at the Senior Bowl. Like, I don't want flashes of upside as a flashes of upside at the Senior Bowl. That's what I'm banking on. The NFL is just too quarterback centric these days to rely solely on your defensive ends getting pressure. And I feel like you look at Chris Jones, you look at Aaron Donald, you look at Byron Murphy for the Seahawks, like they all have those dudes that are an issue as pass rushers. And this is not to say that if they take Lee Hunter, like it'd be the end of the world or anything, but it feels very Alfred Collins-y to me. And that's great to have multiple guys just get good players. I know all that. But I would love to see them at one point find one of these defensive tackles that actually has some pass rush upside. And maybe that's Mykel Williams or some real pass rush, not upside, but like a real pass rush skill set. Maybe that's Mykel Williams if he kicks inside as a regular pass rusher, and maybe that's where they get that. But I don't know.
Chris Jones, 37th overall pick in 2016. Yep. Yeah, I'm with you. I wouldn't love it if they took just like a run stuffer. But again, if there's just a dominant player like Derek Brown with the Panthers, I think he was a top 10 pick a few years ago, and
a long time
wasn't somebody out of Auburn. I think wasn't somebody who had like a ton of pass rushing ability early on, but it was just like, no, this guy's like a dominant interior defender. And has proven to be really valuable. Like, I think those players can exist in terms of like, yeah, you feel good about him as a prospect and the way he can even impact the passing game, even if he's not like a renowned pass rusher coming out. Ultimately, for me, it's like, can this dude potentially command double teams even on 3rd and long? And if he's commanding double teams and it's allowing Mykel Williams and Nick Bosa and whoever else to get more one-on-one matchups, or just like giving offensive coordinators and centers and quarterbacks someone else to think about on 3rd and long, aside from just like, well, we're just going to double Nick Bosa wherever he is, and then no matter what, because nobody else can win their one-on-one matchup. Like if you get somebody who can win a one-on-one matchup, or maybe even command double teams, that would change the calculus for the 49ers pass rush in a major way. And I think if you're smart, you should be able to find a player like that if it's a defensive tackle in the back end of round 1.
Yeah, I think so too. I go back to the first thing I talked about in this. If a run-stuffing defensive tackle is the player that the 49ers think has the best chance to be a star-level player in the league, great. Go get him.
Like, we would scoff at the idea, but if the dude is like Vince Wilfork.
Yeah, right, sure.
You know?
He's on the field, he can play all 3 downs, and is just in general a problem, yeah, for sure. And maybe that's Alfred Collins in year 2.
Maybe.
But doubling up on I'm gonna say position of strength. I don't know if that's this for the 49ers, but like doubling down on a position of strength is a good draft strategy, in my opinion.
Always. I've always believed in that. If you're a team that needs to win with a good defensive line, keep drafting good defensive linemen, even if you already have good defensive linemen. And the 49ers don't have enough good defensive linemen right now. I would say, in terms of like positions of need, I would put receiver at a clear number 1, and I would put defensive line, either defensive end or defensive tackle, at number 2.
Me too.
And I think edge is probably more important than defensive tackle, but if they like a defensive tackle more than an edge at that spot, take it, do it. And then maybe that allows you to get more from Alfred Collins and CJ West, because they only need to play 25 snaps instead of 35 snaps in a given day. And you can just maximize them that much more.
Sure. I think that's all I have. We've done
it. So the draft of draft strategies. You had the first pick. You said draft the best player available / focus on drafting a star.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
I said my first pick, trade the pick for a receiver, Justin Jefferson, Garrett Wilson.
At all.
At all. Your second pick, trade up.
Trade up.
In line with your first pick, find a star, best player available.
Yep.
My second pick, trade back. More bites at the apple. If you believe that there's a couple stars in rounds 2, 3, and 4, trade back. Maybe you can get those guys, your Fred Warners, your,
George
Kittles, those types.
DJ Jones.
Your third pick, trade for Maxx Crosby. There's logic in that. Improve the pass rush dramatically. We get it. Me, I just went draft defensive line, whether it's edge or defensive tackle. And that is our drafting of draft strategies. If you have any thoughts, leave comments in the YouTube video below.
Maybe I'll make a little graphic for Canva or on Canva.
Yeah. Well, we'll do that. There will be a thumbnail for sure for the YouTube. And yeah, send Kyle a mention on X, the Everything app, and let him know your thoughts. Or follow us on Candlecron, even though I haven't posted there in a while.
That's fine.
On Twitter. It's fine.
That's what I'll make a graphic on Canva showing what our draft looked like. I'm probably not going to do that. I'm busy tonight. But...
Well, we don't want to give it away. We want people to watch the video and or listen to the podcast.
Great point. So maybe I've got a couple days, and then we can post it later and try and get the people seeing that. What's the logic here? I have to listen to the show.
Draft strategies.
Greg Rosenthal from NFL Network shouted us out one time.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he listens to every episode, or do you think he just happened to stumble across that one?
It's a good question.
If he listens to every episode, I'm going to be embarrassed.
Why?
Because I say some dumb shit on this.
I'm not sure. I mean, I would think maybe somebody alerted him. Maybe he's got some algorithm that combs through podcasts that's like,
Chat GPT.
Yeah.
He said, hey, Chat GPT, what podcast talked about this?
Mm-hmm.
Chat GPT said, well, obviously the world's foremost 49ers podcast.
Do you know what idea he talked about us talking about?
No, I don't.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if it was the striped socks.
No, it definitely was not that.
Or bitching about the Niners traveling internationally twice in 2026.
I was listening to Candlestick Chronicles, and these dudes whining about Australia got me thinking. I want to make it clear, just real quick, last thing, because I really do have to go. I want to make it clear, I did not mean to send shots at Australia. I want to go to that country really bad. And I know there's a huge NFL fan base there, and salute. I hope they have a great time at the Niners-Rams game. Shout out to that country.
I think and again, I'm with you. Love Australia. Really want to go visit. I want to go play golf there. Like some of the best golf in the world is in Australia. I would say, like, if you're a fan of like a Aussie rules football team, you probably wouldn't be like, hey, go play your season opener in the United States. If if you're an Australian, you'd be like, that's not ideal. Like, sure. I want that. I want to watch that in person close to home. And I don't want them to deal with traveling and the time change and, being on a plane for 32 hours. Like, I think that's reasonable.
Sure.
All right.
I agree
with that.
But shout out to Australia.
Shouts to Australia.
We have a couple Aussies who listen to this podcast.
Shout out. We will have some combine stuff potentially later in the week. And subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Go to sglampshops.com. Buy up all their gear, particularly the Candlestick Chronicles merch. Play Prize Picks, promo code Candlestick20. And go to Cooperage Brewing. And I don't know if they still have the Candlestick Chronicles. It wouldn't surprise me if it's all sold out at this point. But all of their other beers delicious. So go to Cooperage, both locations in Santa Rosa on Ross Street and Airway. We'll talk to you guys later on. See ya.
Shout out Al Roker.